Hey friends, this is Korin Sutherland with Sweet and Sassy Stamps, showing you today how to create this Winter Wonderland card. The inspiration came from a fellow stamper. Heather Telford is her name. She has a fabulous blog called Bits and Pieces. She has some really awesome ideas. So I can't take credit for this. I must give credit where credit is due. So thanks, Heather, for the inspiration for my card. Now, first what we're going to do is go over some of the products that you're going to need, or supplies that you're going to need to create this card. First off, we're using 3 of our Sweet and Sassy stamp sets. This is Tree Background, Faith, and then this larger one is called Landscape Silhouettes. And we are only going to be using this image right here, but I'm telling you, if you don't have this set, you should totally get it because it's awesome. You will use it over and over again for so many different reasons. We're also going to need a mask. Basically, this is just something that I cut from scrap paper. And then you're going to need, of course, clear blocks and your Versamark VersaFine Onyx Black. Mentos Teal Zeal will be for the sponging. And then also just some clear embossing powder, your heat tool, and this is just some paper for my stamping. And of course, I have 2 just in case I mess up. Before I actually do any stamping on my card panel, is I'm going to, I don't have a Misty or a Stamp-A-Majig. I know, amazing. I just never invested in any of those things. So I have to kind of create a different way to line things up when I need them to be more exact. So what I'm going to do is use my Stampin' Up! Grid mat that I got from, probably Lydia Fiedler some time ago, my Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I'm going to stamp this image on my grid. Now it doesn't have to be inked up really well because I'm not doing this for it to be perfect. But I want to stamp this on my grid just so I know where I'm going with this when I put my paper down. So I'm just going to stamp this on here. All right, like I said, I didn't really ink that up well, so no big deal, because I'm going to actually use that on this piece of paper. And now we're going to stamp in the Versamark our panel here. Now, if you want, maybe to be safe, we could tape this down with some repositionable tape. So we'll tape that down to keep it from moving around. And then I'm just going to stamp and use my previous image kind of as a guide for where I want this to go. Okay, so that's with my Versamark. Now I have this little bit of haze. That's because my stamp didn't clean quite well, because I was in a hurry and didn't do it the best that I could, but that's okay because you're not going to really be able to tell that it's gray once we keep going with this. So now ideally, if your stamp was clean, you would probably not see anything when you stamped with the Versamark, because Versamark is a watermark pad, so it's really just meant to be clear. So we kind of ended up with a little bit of a positive on this because it's going to help me line up my next image a little bit better with this image being on here, that you can see it. But that's not necessarily always going to be the case, which is why I stamped on my grid paper first. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to move this image down a little bit because I want it to kind of be like a shadow, which is going to create the snowy effect on the branches. So this is a little bit of an eyeballing. You're going to have to just move it down enough that you have a little bit of a, just a little bit of room, a little bit of that shadow. Okay. All right, so now I have my watermark and my black ink on my panel. So now I'm going to pull this up, and we're going to put clear embossing powder on this image. We want the whole thing to be embossed. Now you want to do this pretty quickly because you don't want the black ink to dry, so I'm doing it right away. I don't know if I had like an embossing buddy or something, that would have been helpful, I guess, but I rarely use those kinds of extra tools. I've heard that dryer sheets work for that as well. I've never tried that, but I imagine it probably does because of the static. So if you wipe a dryer sheet gently on your paper before you put the powder down, you should be good to go. Okay, so now I want to take my heat tool and heat the embossing powder. There we go. Alright, so now you can see it's nice and crisp. And I can see my little bit of shadow. It's hard to see right now because we haven't added any color to this yet. But once we add some blue, then you're really going to see that nice snowy effect on the branches. Okay, so next up, we're going to use our ink and sponge, but I wanted to just show you real quick, we do need a mask for our moon. This is just die cut from some masking film. I just used a die cut circle to cut that out. So we put that in the sky, and then we're going to come in and start sponging. Okay, so I want, because this is where the moon is, it's going to be a little bit brighter in the sky right there, so I'm going to actually come in with my darker color on this other corner, the farther corner. And I just sponge in a circular motion. I start off of the page so that I don't get any harsh edges from my sponge. I love these sponges. This is a jumbo dauber. It's my favorite sponging sponge. I love that it's circular. I like that it has that nice sturdy handle. You can actually stick your fingers in there, which I do sometimes, but okay, so we can add more color to that as we go later if I decide I want to do that. But now what you want to do is, just to make sure there's no excess on there and you get ink all over yourself, you just want to take a tissue or a paper towel or something and just wipe off the excess. And there goes my mask. It's been used so many times it's not sticky as much anymore. But just kind of wipe off the excess, and then you can really see that white. It shows up even better because you've removed that excess ink. Okay, so now we're going to take the mask that we created, and we're going to add some snowy hills. Now what you might want to do, this is kind of helpful to keep things all, you know, in one place. You can always use repositionable tape just to kind of secure it all. Now I'm going to just, I'm inking up and then I'm removing some of it just so that I don't have too much. But I'm just going to come in and sponge in a circular motion across the edge of my mask that I created. All right, so now we lift this up and we've got our beautiful snowy hill. Then we want to get maybe another one in there, turn that at a different angle. And we don't want quite as much ink here, so we're just going to come in and just add a little bit kind of in the middle of that hill like that, okay? And then do again the same thing. Move it again. Shift it over, and we'll do the same thing again. Just a little bit. I'm not even applying ink there. So now you've got these nice soft snowy hills, but we're not done yet because we still have to add our trees. So we're going to take the image from Landscape Silhouettes. That would be our tree image. And I'm not going to use this whole image. I only want a few of those trees, so I don't even care if the block's not quite the right size. Oh, wrong direction. I need to use this side. Okay, so that's going to go right in here. But we're going to need our little mask again because we don't want the image going all the way into the snow. So I'm just going to tape this down again. Grab that onyx black and just ink up just those first few. You really don't have to ink up the whole entire thing. And then just stamp. Okay, so now when you lift that up, you can see it's kind of off in the distance and you don't have any straight edges or anything like that. Okay, so we'll stick that aside. Now we have to clean this stamp off again. Get this nice and clean because we're going to use it to create the shadow. So what we're going to do is take another block. We're just going to use another acrylic block, and I want the color to be the same as the sponging color, just so that it's all uniform. And we're going to take this image and we're actually going to stamp it right on the block. But you want to be really careful not to move, not to slide it around, because it's going to be slippery. So you just have to very gently get the ink on there. You don't even really have to push too hard. So sometimes you get a weird shape. And you're just going to turn it to the side a little bit, sort of tilt it. Now I want some of this blue to go into my black because I don't want the shadows to be way down here, then I'll have open white space. So I'm just going to line it so that I have blue all the way up to the hill. Okay, and so that is how you get the reflection image, or the shadow image, because it's a reflection. Okay, so that's how you do that part. The final step is just to add that sentiment. So we'll take our stamp from the Faith set from Sweet and Sassy, and we'll get out our Onyx Black VersaFine ink, which is my favorite for sentiments because it's so crisp, and just stamp that right there in the snow. And boom, you've got a gorgeous Moonlit Winter Wonderland. All right, well, I hope that you will be able to give this a try, and if you do, please share your creations on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook just by looking up Sweet and Sassy Stamps. We'd love to see your creations, and you can also visit us online, sweetandsassystamps.com. All right, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.